with our basic shape. For Russell, we're going to start with a circle, and you can place this a little bit higher on your page. I would go at least above the halfway point here, and make it the size of a softball. You can make it pretty nice and big. I'm just going to go around and around with lots and lots of lines here. It's okay if you don't start with a good shape though. Again, rough sketching is all about adjusting and changing things, making it how you like it. So you can add as many lines as you need so you're happy with that. Now I'm bringing a line right down the middle here. We're actually going to extend it down pretty low as well. That is going to be his central line, but we also need an eye line for him. And his eye line, I like to go right to about the middle of the circle here and pull a letter U up. Bring that both ways there. Now that is everything we need to start. Of course, definitely not seated him just yet. Let's go ahead and start building up a little bit more of his head shape. Now, Russell is an adorably chubby kid, so his cheeks are going to extend out here on both sides with these C curves. Very flat C curves with diagonal lines extending out. I'm bringing this a little bit below my circle, but down here we actually want to add a little bit of his uniform. We're going to have him in his Boy Scout uniform. He's got his little sash, his little shirt. So let's start with the shirt first thing. It's going to be more of a V-neck coming right down here to our center line. I also want to add in some extra lines to help kind of show just a little bit of his shoulders coming out here. I'm not going to see much of it. I'm not really going to go anywhere beyond this. Go ahead and add those two in. I'm going to lightly pull down another diagonal line to the middle here. And also come back to the middle with two more. These are going to be curves rather than diagonal lines. There are going to be two letter U's here extending just about to that middle point. It's going to come to a knot here, and Russell's very good at his knots, so we're going to have a little box knot, a little square knot here. Everything in their designs is very caricature, very simple shapes. Carl himself is almost entirely squares. Squares and rectangles make up his entire character design. And they actually got this from a day that they were working in the studio. They had a lot of the artists and other people there just doing caricatures of each other. And Russell here, he is actually based off one of those caricatures. There is a guy by the name of Peter Sohn. If you haven't heard of the name, he's pretty awesome. He's done some really great stuff for Pixar. And he has voiced characters, he's directed films, he's done a whole lot. But this dude is adorable. He still looks very, very young, even though he is a little bit older now. But his childhood photos actually became the visual inspiration for our character Russell here. I'll show you in just a moment what those look like. But let's create a little bit more of our knot here. We want the ends of our, I'm just going to call it a sash, coming out and coming to these little end points here. So we want these rectangular kind of shapes moving outward. I'm going back and locking this in, and then I'm going to go ahead and lock in the rest of the sash and the shirt. Go back over those lines. Now, I'm going to take a second here to go ahead and show you Peter Sohn. This is what he looks like. Isn't he adorable? I mean, he's incredible. I love him. But he also voiced all of these amazing characters. Emil, Squishy, Socks, helped direct The Good Dinosaur. But when they were doing those caricatures in the studio, the person doing the caricature of him was like, "You're pretty adorable. I bet you look even more adorable as a child." And he was like, "Actually, yeah, let me show you." He had his childhood photos with him at that moment, which is crazy. Probably on his phone. I would hope not like actual photos like he's in his wallet or something. But pretty incredible that was the beginning of Russell here. I'm adding in a couple extra little tension lines on the inside of our ends of the knot. But we also want to do that on some of these sections here. I'm going to add in one more coming outward. So as things come to the knot, that's where we want to add in those little tension lines. There we go. Now there was a lot of interest for voicing this character. They actually had 450 children audition for the role of Russell. And surprisingly enough, none of them got it. Not a single one. I think it's pretty crazy. But the story is kind of funny, I think, because there was this little boy, Jordan the guy. He went to the audition to support his brother who was auditioning. And somebody there heard his voice, and it's like, you need to audition by now. And so they were like, this kid, he's perfect, let's make it happen, give him the audition. And he got the role, right then and there. Which is wild, because his brother probably has some trauma to work through. A little bit. That must have been pretty brutal. But, you know, I think he was very excited for his brother as well, because he got to be a part of it instead. Now that we've got this bottom section locked in there, we are a little less than halfway done. How are we doing so far?
Pretty good.
Good. Okay, great. Well, let's go ahead and continue on then. I'm going to start adding in those facial features. And we'll start things off on the outside again. I'm going to bring in these little sticks of butter on the outside. They're rounded. We want these little rounded, I don't know, butter containers? Those are rounded. That's what I kind of think of with these. These are going to be his ears, actually. So this is another part that you can see a lot of those very simple shapes making up the design here. From the ends of this, though, let's go ahead and pull some lines up. I'm just going to extend this right up towards the eye line. This is going to be the edges of his hair. And from the top of this right one, we're going to start adding in his hat. I'm going to pull this right in front of our circle up to that center line. And we want to add in the bill of the hat now. I'm coming over. So I'm going to add in this big C curve going over to the left. Let's add in the top of the hat. So I'm going back to the right here, pulling up a little hill. So it's almost like we're building this lopsided heart shape. And then over here on the left, this area of the bill, that's where we're going to see most of Russell's hair. So I'm going to extend out these little blades of grass, these sharp little shapes here. Extend a few of these out. I usually add about 3, and the last one I'm going to pull right past the end. And then we're going to bring that right back down to that line we have for the hair. That's going to be all the hair we need for it. I'm going to go back in here, start to lock in these lines. And you can lock in pretty much the whole head shape, the hat, the ears, all of that. We got it, we need it, let's keep it. Now they actually brought in a Disney villain for this movie. Does anybody know his name? No, that's okay, that's alright. His name is Charles Muntz. Yeah, Charles Muntz. And he's based on a real Disney villain from Walt Disney's own life. Back when Walt Disney originally started the Disney Studios, he did not have enough money to actually distribute the cartoons he was making. And he was making the Oswald cartoons. Now, these Oswald cartoons were incredible, very revolutionary for the time. But since he didn't have money, he had to get some help from a bigger studio, a well-established studio. Now, I'm not going to name any names, but he, let's call him Universal. He got some help from, we're going to call him Universal. And he did not know it at the time, but the CEO that he was working with to get these cartoons distributed, he wanted these characters for himself, for Universal. So he put in a little thing in the contract that said any characters, any named characters actually, that you animate for us are now ours. And so he had actually named Oswald, he named Hortensia, and their children. So Walt Disney lost the rights to the characters that he had made. which is very, very unfortunate. And he eventually found out about that and decided he was going to start over from scratch, and that's where we got, of course, Mickey Mouse, and the rest is history. But that was a big, big turning point in Walt Disney's life. He vowed from that point on he was never going to make characters for anybody else, let anybody else have his characters. So he would only make them for the Disney company, and he has. But that was huge. It was really big. He learned a lot. A big, big lesson from that. Always read the contract. That's the real thing here. Read the contract. Let's go ahead and move in though. I'm going to start adding in Russell's nose. A little hill right through the center line, through the eye line. And his eyes, we're going to move just a little bit out. I like to place a little dot here on both sides to start with. We're not going to leave it like this with these tiny little dots. We're going to make some larger eyes here. I want to add in this little hill. We're going to extend this up and over so that it lands on that guideline. There we go. And then let's use the guideline to go ahead and pull this right back to that center point. There we have it. So now we have his eye shape. He's looking a little possessed though. A little scary. Let's go ahead and wake him up. We're going to exercise him. Let's add in his pupils. And for that, you can add whatever you want. Heart, star, circles. I'm just going to add little circles. And we want to sketch the whole shape. I'm lightly adding it here, and then I'm only going to lock in what is actually inside the eye. So we're locking in the sides here. Leave a little bit of space. You don't want these right up against the middle of the eye, or he's going to look very cross-eyed. You know, you can give him his hey-hey moment, but if that's not what you're going for, leave a little bit of space. Shade these in nice and dark, though. It'll make those stand out. Let's give him some eyebrows as well. This is going to help show those emotions that he needs to show. He's a very energetic kid. He's got a lot of excitement that we want to show. Nice tall eyebrows here. That's going to make him look a little bit more excited. And these eyebrows are actually also based on Peter's own. These are his eyebrows. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give him a nice big smile. Right down below the nose here, let's add in a big letter U. He does have a very large smile. I'm very happy kid. So nice big letter U there. You can push his cheeks in a little bit, just at the sides with these little smile lines. But that is going to be the last detail. So I like to add a little bit of flash to his cheeks. Make him look kind of adorable here. But once you're all done with that, go ahead and find a place on your page, sign your name. Every artist needs a signature. Sounds like we got some silly things in there. Did we have fun drawing Russell? Yeah! Awesome, fantastic. Okay.